See the quarter button movement going here. The 8 patch and quarter button movement. Only sipping on espresso with caramel over here. I'm a bitter old man. Anyway, the reaction to the quarter zip movement really, I had to let it gestate. There was something I was like, I'm gonna get on my phone. Hot takes. So, bachelor style, just walking around with breaking in some chuckas. So I remember this was what it was for the quarter zip people. The beauty of this, one of the things about this is that this is a repetition of something that happens every so often in Americana, and where there's suddenly kind of this period that men will dress particularly upscale in a sense. Athleisure was a hip-hop era thing. This is not how the older black people dressed when I was younger. Even the older guys who were like older, cool dressed dudes when I was 12, 13 years old. Like, there's the guys who would have like cool sneaks, and stuff. But I mean, it's you saw a lot of older men dressed like the church clothes within a very short period of time of the earliest 90s through the 2000s. This change a number of different ways. One, things got more casual. You started to see more kind of jeans and then designer jeans, like they had the urban style, you started to see kind of the rise of these clothes that would come out of people know them. You know this or you don't. The Arab shops, where if you had $40, technically you had $30. I only got $30 to spend. And make you a deal, No, I could do that. He's 30. Yeah, I got $30 cash, and I just got a bus pass back home. It's cool. Yeah, we do $30. You come back though, right? No, yeah. Oh, now I am. Yeah, yeah, cousin. It's been a long time since I fucking done some haggling. Really, I was never that good at it. I didn't have the stomach for it. Like gambling, I don't have the stomach for it. So you get this era of time. This is the MCM suits. That's like those cost some money. And at that time, the ones that, yeah, and so you got to see these outfits and these kind of clothes that started to become kind of the urban style. And you had the cool store with the urban stuff. And now I went a different route. I and a lot of people in the Bay Area, we went to the Army surplus construction clothes. So we went Dickie shirts, Ben Davis pants, sneaks, whatever they were, like Cortez Classics or Taylors, Chuck Taylors. That was my thing, Chuck Taylors. Then there was the steel toe boots period. A lot of this determined from kind of the street style that was sort of the hard heads. Older guys would have like Lees and steel toes, and flannels, starters. It was the move toward casual clothing that was spotless. Absolutely had something to do with a change on the East Coast in the style of hip-hop. Brand Nubian dissed by EPMD on the song Crossover because they were wearing suits instead of wearing boots. The rise of that period of time, the kind of re-rise, or basically the the ska, like the like traditional ska came back, ska and punk, Op Ivy, and the skinheads, and what eventually Rancid by the end of that period forms, and you had the skinheads and the punks and skins, and they had their style, and the skinheads would have like they had like they toned, a lot of these guys toned it down. They didn't, because of the quote unquote boneheads, because the Nazis, they didn't want to, they didn't like that, they wanted to look different. So there were a lot of these guys brought back the old, kind of an older style of skinhead thing, and so this is where you really got to see these guys would have the low top Oxfords with Dickies, and so that they was like trousers. They weren't wearing the jeans tucked into like fucking like 10 eyes and shit like that, or 13 eye boots and shit. Wearing red boots with blue right. Who was it? Was it red oxblood boots with white laces, and blue braces, and red braces, blah 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 blah. It was like Condemned '84, So anyway, there was all these styles that showed off your subculture. That ends in the late 90s, especially with the albums like Check Your Head by the Beastie Boys, that this opened up a whole new area. And the whole thing is, it opened up a different realm for black people. There was Soul to Soul. Soul to Soul ends up being a part of the explosion of music, like trip hop with Massive Attack and Tricky and all those people, and Portishead and all that style. That was more international, like Canadians and French were big in that scene of the developing trip hop. So you had this kind of merging of kind of street style that had kind of a tough edge to it, but really suddenly it brought in the skaters. Cypress Hill, for some reason, really attracted skaters, even though the group was associated with the Bloods and the United Blood Nation that was developing at the time in the 90s, which I didn't quite understand what my homies was trying to, Anyway, it's a long time ago. And so, this reaction to the quarter zip, it takes a lot of things. Black people just love forgetting about how important something that seemed trivial, such as style, but for black Americans, this is critical to understanding. Black nerds during the 90s and early 2000s had a whole different world they were looking at because of groups like Native Tongue Family, Prince Paul, smart black dude stuff, and to be a mild-mannered smart black dude, you could also be stylish with this kind of casual style that wasn't extremely expensive. Skater jeans, like whatever kind of sneakers you're into, like a t-shirt that has like graffiti art on it. Electronica did a lot for that kind of world because of how house music was so linked to the end of the period of soul music parties and playing soul records, and that people in Detroit and Chicago and New York started extracting more and more sounds out of these old tracks, remixing the way the drums worked. There was a lot of stuff from James Brown that people had access to because of the way that copyright was working. So you'd get these records pressed that would have what would end up becoming like the basis of samples. Like their records filled with snippets of sound from different extractions of sound from different songs and this, that, and the other. And so it brought people together that you would just never imagine would be together. It was really a uniting force in youth, because it was this creativity that was happening with music and with dancing. There was the whole dance styles that, like, house dancing it's a style of dance that was different. It was different and similar than hip hop's dances. All of these kind of stylistic things like this, they've been forgotten. People are putting them aside. You know, nobody's complaining about the antiquated look of the b-boy. You know, and then this thing of, and the Nike Tech, and I get, like, they're using that as a example of, you know, they don't wear that anymore. They're growing up, and so they're starting to buy trousers is one of the words that you start getting used to. Trousers. So, and it's good. It's the natural way of things. Biggie Smalls performed in suits. Everybody was wearing suits back in the day when they got to a certain point in their life and career, and a certain age too. That's why it's like everybody's trying to act like 50-year-old men dressed as 19-year-olds from like 1995, like, is still dope, deaf, and in effect, you know. And it's like, I know there's just and sagging pants. Just stop. It was never dope. And I know, I mean, I would try to pull it off, and I mean, I knew guys who practically would have contests. Like, I remember still this one kid, Mahar. And Mahar, I still remember, I was like, you know, I see him, I'm on the bus, and I'm like, oh, what up, Mahar? And he's like, yeah. And there are these cats who were Lakeview heads. And Mahar we were from the Avenues, or he was from the Avenues. I lived over in Park Merced. And these Lakeview heads are like, damn, that nigga's sagging. That's the most sag I've ever seen. And it was really, Mahar did. You had no idea how his pants did that. It was pretty strange. But he had the whole style and image of like this exotic b-boy kind of style, weed slanger thing, down cold. And I mean, so yeah, it was what it was. But it's like some of the reactions that people are having, these quarter zip guys and stuff and all that, you know, some of these reactions are very just over the top. Like, they're very strange reactions, or quite a bit too much in a lot of ways. Really kind of almost angry at them for not wearing Nike Tech anymore or something. Or maybe it's the criticism of that. And that's what made me my mind start to keep going. Because I remember Kevin Samuels having this one time where he brought up, and I think he was either something I was behind a paywall or I just missed, when he was going to talk about class. And he goes, now a lot of you are going to think socioeconomic class and stuff like that. He goes, that's not how the word was used by Americans up until academia and liberals made it that and that alone, because of the dialectic materialism, you know. And what he was getting into, just class, and there's a way that Americans use this term, and he goes, and you get it or you don't, and that shows something about you. And he said this is one of the things that Black America is facing but doesn't like to talk about, that there's low class people that, and you can't, you just can't beat that. Like somebody has to develop a sense of class and a sense of elegance and delicacy and gentlemanliness and being ladylike. All of these things, it's a class issue. And it doesn't matter that some people get this, oh, you want people to be submissive and give in the power of the white man and all this stuff. And it's no, it's just having a sense of class. I mean, that's it. White people, Asians, everybody knows people in their community who are they got no class. Ain't got no class, no class. Roll them up like the Buddha, that's stinky, I can't believe these rap lyrics from 100 years ago come into my mind. But ain't got no class. Early rap music even has "You Just Know Damn Good" by Big Daddy Kane. "A Bitch Is a Bitch" by Ice Cube. Total proto red pill. So much of that era's music was Funky Dividends was one of the most red pill kind of songs ever. But it just nobody, we didn't think of it like that. It was just a game, like how he was sprinkling you with some game, but ain't got no class. But there's a lot of that. And then the idea, EPMD, it was a great example. At EPMD, on Unfinished Business, they're in matching suits with the fisherman's hats and Jordans, and and on their cars, right? But within an album, by the next album, it's hoodie down and fatigue. Black boots, black jeans, black boots, and I mean, it was to the point that it was black down goose, and it was, and that was their thing. That was, and everybody, and by 1994, Wu-Tang ruled the world. When you think of, say, somebody in opposition to this in some way, would have been like the Fugees, the guys from that. They just had a different thing going on, a more artistic kind of thing going on. Again, Wyclef Jean in a suit, in his album cover of The Carnival, if I remember correctly. And so the resentment of class is now this thing that really never comes up in these dating shows with Black Americans, but is clearly what is being left unsaid. A lot about education, the norms of education, it's a maintenance of class. And these low-class people who can't read or don't. That kind of stuff, that kind of thinking. There's not really a way around it. It's inevitably going to kind of catch up to you. It's inevitably going to come back in conversation. It's already a word, so people don't have to come up with another word. The women don't have to come up with a word that doesn't make them feel uncomfortable. And then there's that constant issue that now is plaguing what really is now like this idea of people who are educated or people who are smarter, that a lot of black liberals, pro-blacks, have to understand. I found a good example today that the way that the Democrats are already starting to defensively react to what's going on with SNAP. Their reaction shows, because remember, it's just government, it's federal money just handed, and these states are supposedly managing it correctly. Well, the federal government's finding, well, clearly you're not. we keep finding scandalous misuse of billions of dollars in various forms of welfare spending in blue states, with Minnesota being one of these, and there's been others in LA, now Washington, what is it, Michigan. These are the ones that are coming off the top of my head. Some scandal that had to do with various elements of the welfare state, only within about last year. Well, so this is actually kind of a strategy thing, and it won't matter. It's telling you I'm going to sweep the leg. It doesn't matter that you know. So you all react defensively in a way that shows we got you. We found out. And you're wrong. And then the reaction only makes it kind of worse. So we catch you, and when the way that the party reacts, the way that then the journalists all start to type stories, everybody coordinates, attacks. This is what the numbers say. Now that we know that we're in charge, we just do the numbers better, because we've known about how you've been defrauding people for a very long time. Like, your party seems to think that you should defraud people and give and distribute money, tax money, in ways that people don't want, and then you just say that what you wanted was just simply more righteous. That's it. It's nothing more complicated. You simply believe yourselves to be better than us, and that we're stupid Americans, and Americans are stupid, and we would never give money to anybody for a good cause if it wasn't for you, and you're the only ones who know what a good cause is. This is really, like, now we're realizing you can't have governing power over us. There can't be actually even a way that the government can extract money, and this can never happen again. We're watching, now you could even find the videos of we got them, or we found out, and it's the reaction, it's pointing out, this is the reaction we're getting from these people on this recent scandal. What does this tell us? And this means that there's more of this. It's worse. The party doesn't want us looking in on it. And the Epstein thing was the same. This was really something that, people really didn't get that. Your attack against Donald Trump in relationship to the Epstein thing, and so everybody was like, yeah, where the fuck are these? Where's all these records? We're supposed to get these records. And so you all gave Trump then the ammunition to put the pressure on Bondi and Patel and then Congress to make it happen. And by that time, your party couldn't get out of it. Your party couldn't crush legislation to release the records anymore, which was another thing I found out about. Is you guys kept finding ways of slowing it down just as much as certain Republicans. See, we even do this with the party itself. Very important, in fact. Both Lindsey Graham and Mitch McConnell are furious that Donald Trump has basically forced Zelensky into this situation of capitulating to peace. See, about a month ago, Zelensky was caught in a golden toilet, literally, scandal. This morning, his secretary, I'd have to look up exactly the position. It's now reaching the presidential palace, that the anti-corruption forces are starting to find the money and hunt it down. This isn't a coincidence. This is all happening because he's got to go. There's too many people probably someplace who are like, where'd the shit go that we sent them? There's just There's somebody's left holding the bag. I mean, it's fucking Ukraine. Somebody's left holding the bag. And so now they want him out. They're going to get out. This is also, there's probably a lot of people who are wealthy in France who are like, we can't handle a war. This will send, the Muslims will never fight for France. You all are smoking Hubba rocks. Europe is plagued with this issue. If weapons enter Europe from contraband, just falling in the wrong hands, that's it. The whole goddamn continent will light on fire with Muhammad Akbar, spraying up, everybody everywhere. That's all that will happen. It'll just be just murderous Muslims, getting their hands on weapons from the European armed forces. So, there's smart enough people who are figuring out, nah, that can't happen. We can't even allow this to be a possibility. So it's going to be peace. And also there's probably a degree to which there's actually smart people who like doing business that are like, why don't we just keep Sergey busy? Like, repairing Ukraine and repairing the damage to their economy, and also having to deal with the fact that Russia's in the same problem that everybody else is in. There's not that many Russians left compared to what they need to keep the actual land, the contiguous area thriving. They need more people too. They're facing the exact same problem as the post-baby boomer world is facing. Now people are starting to find out the numbers we had on China. Everybody's starting to find out we didn't have very good numbers. We believed their numbers, and now everybody's starting to get it. That there's a lot fewer of them. Remember, the key to some of this was, almost anything that is found out in the West that's like, wow, things aren't so good in China. They react like tenfold. They go they glass you on social media. Everything is great. You don't understand. You are dumb. It's wild. And so that's the thing that kind of you got to get about what's happening with the nationalists and the right and the anti-global kind of thing, is that what this mostly is revealing information that it's like, this is actually not that well concealed. It's just very uncomfortable, because it means that we probably don't have that much power over our future. And that's what's bothering most of the left and the liberals now, is sort of a magical kind of, this will solve tremendous amounts of problems such as the weather, if you just believe. And it's gotten to the point where now we're firmly being asked to just simply be. The word believe is coming up far too often in relationship to politics. Politics is about interests. It's not about believing in something. It's not about having the evangelos of the energies of George Washington shining down from the dome. If you know the reference, it's about interests, and talking about believing in things political is it's fanciful language. In a period of time that people are becoming more and more fanciful rather than really practical about their interests and about how this has to be negotiated. Ukraine really shows this, that people were being fanciful about it. They weren't looking at, these people left the fucking country. They signed on to joining the Russian states. Like, that's it. It's not something else. They're going to have to deal with their interests in this regard. And then there was the whole thing of, didn't you guys see on YouTube the months and months and months of continuous shelling of civilian areas from the west by people in the east who are the ethnic Russians. Like, do you guys miss it? Really? Yeah. I remember when I found the reconstituted channel of the Azov Battalion, and that when everyone's like surprised, the journalists are like, oh my gosh, can you believe there's going to be a surge and they're going to push Russia back? Well, 2 weeks before, the Azov Battalion channel restarted, and they were showing guys running around, teaching the civilians combat, teaching the civilians urban warfare. That's the sign of victory, right? See, that told me what was happening. Why would they need to teach them urban warfare when the Russian line is what? Where's the Russian line really? Where are you defending so well that who would have YouTube and be watching it during this? So this is the kind of thing that's a tell. I had this tell that was right there. Something about the liberals and the left, you don't get that kind of thing anymore. Maybe it's just kind of dark. That it's like, oh, well, if this is true, then why, are you already dead? But this is why then it becomes this thing of, no, your mass movement's going to peter out, because you now have a distinct issue that you can't get past. You are now getting caught not teaching phonics for almost a generation. And that's going, and once people start to walk through, wait a second, how are you teaching all these other subjects if people don't really know how to read? Right now, finally, everyone's figuring out, oh, Harvard has a problem with how many A's are going out. The left has lost every major debate on YouTube for the last about decade. It's almost, there's almost this phenomena of just watching people who are left of center get pwned. Just totally pwned.